Housing market heated
NBC.
up. Paul met a new appraiser and showed her around.
And what was the number value? You open up that piece of paper, and what is it?
Oh, $998,000.
Less than $1 million.
Less than $1 million.
Which means almost $400,000 less than
Yes.
the appraisal you'd gotten a year earlier.
Yes.
And so they applied for a new appraisal. But this time,
I'd forgotten
I'm
about
gonna
that. They had an
guarantee
appraisal that was a year
that
old.
I'm going to get the
And in this
the
market, it
appraisal
went
that
down
my
by
house is supposed
500,
to
and then they
get.
had
And
another
in the
one.
United States, what is your best guarantee of getting the best rate possible?
Being white.
Being white.
so they worked to erase themselves from their own home.
All of our art, took that away, pictures of our family, anything that, would resemble that this home belongs to a black family. Just grabbed it all, put it all in a shed, put it all away.
And they asked a white friend to stand in when the new appraiser arrived.
So this time you open the paper, and it says what?
1.482.
Yes. $500,000 difference.
Imagine what that money can do for a family. That's seed money for a business. That's a second home you could rent out. That's college tuition.
In Arkansas, that's
Now,
4 houses.
imagine this whole community misses out on those opportunities. It shows that this is a far larger problem than this one address.
Carla Duffy, a homeowner in Indianapolis, told NBC's Priscilla
I didn't even
Thompson
think about it
using
from that
a similar
standpoint
tactic.
as
I
to
remember two
what
of
that
her
appraisal
friends, both
would
of
have
them
as an
very
impact on
sweaty,
the
and
other
I'm like,
property
I need to
values.
borrow one of y'all
Inspect
husbands.
everything.
Her appraisal came back at double the value. A survey of studies of racial disparities in the U.S. mortgage market found that discrimination inhibits upward social mobility of minorities and exacerbates large racial disparities in wealth because home equity is crucial for building wealth. In fact, this community, known as Marin City, was held back for decades. When Paul's family moved here from the South to work in the shipyards, redlining meant it was the only place in the area where African Americans were allowed to buy a home, while white residents could buy and sell anywhere. Today, Marin City's median income is less than $30,000 a year. Neighboring Mill Valley, a mile away, is nearly 3 times that.
In theory, this home should have been your family's escape from that history.
Yes. Yes. Like, we shouldn't had to repeat what my grandparents had to go through, 50 plus years ago. It's frustrating because we're not as far along in America as we think we are.
The original appraiser did not respond to our request for comment. By the
bet.
time
Of
the
course
Austins
not.
got the new appraisal, interest
the
rates and
shocker of
terms
the
meant they
century.
couldn't borrow the money they wanted, and they're now suing.
Just the process of appraising is a system that creates inequity in our country.
How do we change the system? Will our story be a catalyst to changing, the system that's negatively affecting black and brown people every day?
Tom, Paul and Tanisha say that their lawsuit is about the money lost as they were waiting for a second appraisal, but they also say it's about reforming a system that puts the dream of intergenerational wealth into the hands of a possibly biased person. Tom?
So true. Jacob Ward with a very
Okay.
important story tonight. Jacob,
I
thank
knew
you.
you'd like that.
Are we ready to talk? So here's the situation on the hot topic. First of all, I apologize in advance for any inappropriate language. These bitches. Here's the deal. Here's the deal with real estate appraisal. Let's start here. I am from Southern California. Little Rock and the Central Arkansas area, specifically Little Rock actually, has had redlining. Every area had redlining, okay? So we can look at our current community and we can look at what's going on there and we can see that redlining was involved with both.
You can still tell today where that's at.
Exactly. And what's crazy is I see it in my current market and then I see the words that inhibits social upward mobility, okay? So just from a perspective standpoint, the community I grew up in was largely minority, largely black and brown and Hispanic and black and not Caucasian. So I am not saying that look, obviously I have a different privilege. I am white, I'm a female, I have a lot of access. That is, I understand that. But when I look at the way that I was trained to do real estate appraisal, how I was trained to do real estate appraisal was to look at a piece of land, a property, and then compare it to the comparables around it to determine whether or not that property was valuable according to the number that I came up with my opinion. So I just want to start by saying, number one, this is an opinion. This is an opinion. So opinions are like assholes. Everybody has one and they all stink. And if this guy or person or appraiser or woman went in there and decided to make an objective decision on his, or not objective, but if he decided to make a bad decision, he applied his opinion based on his racism or what he was doing. First of all, we're not in his mind, so we don't know what he did. But secondly, like, that's a person's decision, okay? So I just want to say that from the real estate appraisal education and background, there's never been anything but be objective, be impartial. It doesn't matter what pictures are on the wall. That has nothing to do with the value of the property. How does it sit on the land? What is the cost replacement new? What kind of sales around it have taken place to indicate what this property is worth? It has nothing to do with who owns it or how bought it. So, like, first of all, that's my first thing that I just want to say. You take it for a second before I blow up.
I've talked to appraisers before, both doing things for clients of ours and personally, about certain things that should or should not be in your house when you get an appraisal done, and whether it helps the appraisal if you have your house perfectly clean, not cluttered, things like that. And I've had people tell me, it helps, but it shouldn't help. Mm-hmm. It should not matter. The appraiser should be able to look past anything personal that's there, the people living there, whether you have kids, whether you have pets, because that would all be evident. If you had a pet, for example, that would all be evident of if your carpet is horrible, that may go into a very small reduction in the appraisal value. But other things that are there, other things that have gone on, you're supposed to be able to look past it to the walls that exist, to the space that exists, to the overall condition of the property, to the remaining life of the property, and any other issues that are there. We use the words external obsolescence. You're supposed to look for those types of things.
And influences.
You're supposed to look for any stigma. You're supposed to assess whether there's anything structurally wrong with the property, whether an inspection would bring anything up that would cause there to be a stigma in a property or some other negative value. And compare it to other properties in the area. That's the whole job.
And that's the whole thing about it. Oh my gosh. Okay, so this is not the first time I've heard this happen either. Okay, and so we already know that fair housing was a thing. We've had redlining. There's always been some issues with disparity with minorities in real estate. Okay, like that's always been something on the table that has needed to be dealt with. What makes me so mad for these sellers and for these property owners in particular is that what they said about their history and what they set their family up for is that they did everything right and they maintained their property and it's in good condition. And they had an appraiser come in, and then to set them up like that, to pull everything out and to have somebody come back in and make a different opinion of value based on that. I understand that there's still some, lawsuits and everything to dig through here, but like for me, it just kind of seems like they caught him, you know what I mean? Red-handed, being racist.
Well, they were very smart with it. And this was, it doesn't look to me like this was a setup.
No.
There's no way it was a setup.
No,
there may be people out there doing similar conversations to what you and I are having that's saying, well, this is all just a setup. They had somebody come in and do this so they could bring this up. An appraiser, it's not a setup.
No, and here's the thing about it. So I think another thing about upward mobility. So I am obviously a single white female at the time that I am trying to become a real estate appraiser. Okay, real estate appraisers are largely white males in their mid 60s to 70s at this point. Okay, it takes a long time to get in the career, and then you do it for 20 or 30 years after somebody else teaches you how to do it. So it's a passed down career. To solve some of this, what I might say is getting more diverse minority people in the field of a real estate appraisal. Because I can tell you as a female, I'm out here almost by myself. There's I think if you look at the demographics, there are very few females in the appraisal industry. And so getting more people in the appraisal industry that are diverse, that have a different background might be helpful. But I also think that what it comes down to is that you're talking about a practice of real estate appraisal that is taught from objectivity and impartiality. It is somebody's opinion at the end of the day, but the training and what goes into it has nothing to do with looking at the house on any other level than how is it built? How is it constructed? What condition it is in? What influences it? But that brings me down to what the frustration that I have when I hear that the property value changes by $500,000 with a different appraiser like that, with personal effects removes. The reason why is because what you just said and what the news article said is that every comparable in that neighborhood is now affected. So let's say you've got a house for $100,000, and this could happen at any price level. It doesn't matter that it was $1 million. You have a $100,000 house, and there's 6 other houses in your neighborhood that are under construction, okay? 3 of them are under contract. This one is yours. These ones have all sold. If these have all sold at $100,000, and then these are under contract and yours comes in, and you get appraised at $85,000, these 3 houses are now affected because those 3 are here and you're here, and there's some sort of difference between that house and these houses where these other ones are going to be questioned. And so affecting the neighborhood value overall is possible, and then not allowing them to complete their transaction as possible.
The Department of Justice takes a high. They've intervened in this lawsuit. I don't think it was in the article or it wasn't in the news story.
Sorry,
but
I closed the computer out of anger.
no, it's fine. There's an article. The article I read said that the Department of Justice has gotten involved. They've actually intervened in the case and they investigate this. I've heard of it even here, where people will sell lots for X price. Let's say you're going to sell.
Sorry, CBS Morning has it as well.
Yeah. Let's say that you are going to sell really expensive lots in a high-end neighborhood, okay? But you're going to tell the person, I'm going to sell you these lots for $400,000 each, and your house is big enough that you need 3 of the lots. And you try to negotiate price. And they say, well, how about we do this? How about I sell you those lots for $400,000 each that we show as the sales price, but then at closing, I'll give you a credit back of one of the lots of $400,000, so you actually only pay $800,000, but we'll do the credit back against the construction cost. You can see what that does.
It still affects the value.
So then when this person who owns other lots in the subdivision goes to sell the other lots to people, he can say, hey, I sold these for $400,000. That's what they're worth. When in reality, he actually sold the 3 lots for $800,000. There has been FBI, Department of Justice, intervention and litigation in cases just like that. This is the opposite of that. This is moving the price downward, which brings up a point that was interesting that you made that was my second thing while we were watching the video, was this is California. Property values are astronomical in California based upon what they are, where we're sitting right now in Arkansas. $1.4 million can buy you
10
one of
houses.
the biggest houses in the state.
You probably, I got one over here at 1.8, so just bring a little more change.
So we also right now have a large influx of people that are moving here from the West, from California, from Arizona, New Mexico, Colorado, Nevada. I mean, I have several clients
Delaware
who have called me recently saying, hey, we had estate planning done in California. We've now moved to Arkansas. Do I need to redo anything? And we get them in and we look at it. That talks about generational wealth in that video we watched, and it talks about the social mobility. If you sell a property in California as an heir, if these people die and leave this money to their children, if they sell that property for $1.4 million in California and move to Arkansas for a job, for leisure, for any reason,
because they love the show,
that is generation. That turns into a situation where $1.4 million is just going to buy you an ordinary house in California, to where you come here and you are a very wealthy person. You're a very wealthy person here.
We're in the middle of a lawsuit.
Visitor.
Yeah. But here's the thing about it and upward mobility, and I want to talk about it, in detail, because I think I have, I don't have the same barriers, but I have a very good understanding of what it takes to get to a point where you can buy a house after you've never been able to. And I know growing up poor and then moving to this community's redlining is so evident. You can't drive down the freeway or through the city without seeing. And if you live in Little Rock and you deny it, you're denying it. It's true. You can drive around the city and see, okay, this was held back, this was held back, that was held back. And as people go in to continue to update and clean up those neighborhoods, they run into all kinds of problems. You still have historical district issues to go through. You still have to figure out how the zoning works and the code. There's already enough. But the fact is, it makes it very difficult for upward mobility to take place when you put barriers in the way for the people who need to buy those houses in those areas. And the other thing I like to
this is a barrier at the most fundamental level.
At the most
of
fundamental
your property
level.
valued.
Here's the thing. Kids need a house to be able to go to school and get an education and come home to a safe place. At the basic rudimentary level, we have 2 problems. We either have landlords who buy property in our state and who do not properly maintain it, and they put an issue between their tenant and the ability of that tenant to have a happy life and peacefully enjoy their property. Then we have things like this with redlining where, okay, south of 630, north of 630, 2 different property values. And, I'm taking all my hats off right now, by the way. I'm just a human, okay? So we're taking off all my hats. You have generational differences between the way that those properties are appraised and valued and all that, because they're in a different area. But they're not in a different area. They're down from the freeway. They need to be updated and renovated, and some things need to happen with some of those homes. But improvement can happen in those areas if people will just go and give the opportunity to those people. And when you come to invest in a state and you see a state where, oh, gee, everything looks really nice in West Little Rock, I think I'll invest there. I don't know. Maybe you should take a look in other areas of the city and see where your money might make more of an impact. And I realize that it's an unpopular opinion. I just don't care. And I think for me to bring Little Rock up to where it needs to be, it has to be similar to what they're doing right here and fight for the truth of the matter. The truth of the matter is everybody deserves an opportunity to have a home. Everybody deserves a chance to live in the neighborhood they want to. And it doesn't matter what color they are. They should be able to get a value on their property based on this appraiser's objectivity and impartiality, because that's what's required by the Appraisal Foundation. Sorry.
I don't have anything else.
I know. Sorry. When we agree, I just get to go off and it's really exciting. I apologize. But just want to say real quickly. So if you have ever been in a situation where you feel like you're not getting the property value attributed to your property value, then you need to have another appraisal done. You need to get your property in the hands of an attorney or an appraiser. Do what they did and put it on the table.
I mean, we say do what they did. They went to the extreme and cleaned all their personal stuff out of their house. But do what they did as far as getting a second opinion, getting a second appraisal.
Yeah, always get a second opinion. And the reason why, again, it comes back to the opinion is that opinions are opinions are opinions. And I have a lot of opinions that you might not agree with and vice versa. But that doesn't make you a bad lawyer. It doesn't make me a bad real estate agent. It just means that we have different opinions. So if an appraiser has an opinion and they can constitute that and they can validate it, this is why I did it, then I would totally understand the story from a different perspective. But he didn't even answer the phone when they reached out for comment. And so that's what tells me there's indicative things here that have taken place. So in defense of the real estate appraisal industry, no one is trained to be an asshole. That's natural quality that comes with a person. Okay. Now, on defense of these people too, as well, keep going at it. Find the answer to the lawsuit. If you were wronged, you should be able to collect on that. But also remember that humans are human and they're going to make mistakes and they're going to do bad things. And our job is to handle it with grace and find the best way to move forward so we can make a better place for us all to live.
Well said.
Thank you. So I guess that's all from me ranting away, but this one is very close to home. So if you haven't taken a little spin around Little Rock lately to see where those areas were, there's a book. You can find it online and you can pull up the map and you can see that. And then you can take your, take yourself down there and solve some problems.
It's not hard to find.
Okay. I'm ruling that all is fair in real estate, or it should be.